White, exploring the great outdoors in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsman Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, the great outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to the Great Outdoors. Happy to have you today. It is a warm and sunny day here in southwestern Pennsylvania. Want to start off by thanking our sponsors, the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. You can join the MOA today for a spring/summer discount, 30% off. It is, again, 30% off at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, that is MarianaOutdoors.com. That being said, looking ahead for the Mariana Outdoorsman Association over this upcoming summer, got a lot of great things going on, a lot of good events. I'm going to go over that. And then we will kind of be winding down the trout fishing over the upcoming, I would say, weeks and into summer as we get into the heat. But got a lot of cool projects lined up. And obviously there's a lot of warm fishing for everybody to do over the summer. And then the upland bird hunting, migratory bird type stuff fires back up the first Saturday of September, which we will then have another special running. So please keep tuned on Mariana Outdoorsman Association at Facebook. Please go to MarianaOutdoors.com. And you can go to the MOA Outdoor channel on YouTube and also follow us on Spotify and Anchor Radio. Additionally, would like to thank Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds, located at 1997 Morey Road, Clarksville, Pennsylvania, 15322. You can check out the website at 10mileco.org. Again, that is TENMILECO.org. Fantastic place to do an upland bird hunt, Airbnb, Vrebo lodging, a lot of really cool stuff that we got going on there. So please, check us out. 724-579-0924. And you can go to 10mileco.org. Additionally, looking ahead, if you're looking for a fall whitetail hunt, we still have a few available. Those are fully guided, and lodging is available as part of that package. Additionally, wanted to note, first and foremost, no fence. We absolutely have no fence of any kind. Really looking forward to the fall. Hate to bypass summer, but before you know it, we're going to be doing the fall deer hunts, the upland bird hunts, dove hunts, etc. So please check out 10mileco.org, Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds on Facebook. And got a lot of great information. If you ever need a call and ask for info, 724-579-0924. And last but not least, visit Washington County, Pennsylvania, sponsored by the Washington County Chamber of Commerce, Tourism and Promotion Agency. Again, please visit Washington County, PA. That being said, got a lot of cool stuff going on this summer with the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. Saturday, July 13th. Saturday, July 13th, 9 a.m., there's actually going to be a golf outing at Cedarbrook Golf Course. It's a collaboration between the PA Farm Bureau and also the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. If you would like to participate or be a sponsor of any capacity, sponsorships can range from whole sponsors to anything to longest putt, longest drive, get yard signs up, different spots, gift giveaways, etc. Please go to MarianaOutdoors.com, or you can call me directly at 724-579-0924. We'd be really happy to have you. We still have some team spots available, so that as well would be a tremendous, opportunity in that capacity. Looking ahead, the upland bird stuff, as I said earlier, will fire back up in the fall. That'll be in September. And looking beyond that, we will have our fall trout stocking. We actually, due to the incoming heat and water temperatures, we're going to push it to October, tentatively October 5th. That's subject to change. And then we will have the winter fly fishing trout tournament Sunday, December the 15th. That is a one-day tournament held at the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. A lot of other cool things going on. We're actually working on a lot of habitat work this summer, which I'm really looking forward to. That habitat work is really critical, not only to Daniels Run, but also we're working on it's an approximate 2 acre expansion of a wetland off of a pond for migratory birds. So both of these are very interesting. I've gotten myself. It's really hard to express not only my gratitude but my excitement for these projects. Moving forward, because the migratory thing in southwestern Pennsylvania, I don't think it's enough discussion. Although I know we're not a major flyway with the central part of the United States, and even I would even say like the Chesapeake area on the East Coast, we still have a lot of local birds. We still have a lot of migratory birds in general that fly by. So any opportunities to create better habitat for them to stop on their travels just presents better hunting opportunities. So basically, we are expanding this pond, and then there's going to be like subset benches that we're installing that will be drained. They can be drained in the summer, so those areas could be planted, and that's really exciting because then in the fall that'll draw in the migratory birds and should be fantastic for waterfowl. So that alone is a super exciting discussion. That being said, additionally, we got the Daniels Run project on the radar. We've been working on this now for approximately, it's been almost 7 years. When you really look at when we initially started, when we just started like removing some, small trees and whatnot. There's a lot of things, that Daniels Run presents to southwestern Pennsylvania. And why do I say that? There's very few true cold water streams that do exist, and luckily enough, in Washington County, Daniels Run is, to my knowledge, the only cold water fishery. Now, when I say cold water fishery, initially when we started there, the habitat was very poor and just was not very accommodating for trout. But that being said, the water was cold. The water was very cold. Dog days of summer, it was tops out at maybe the low to mid 60s. And also it has a really good shade canopy. Two things that are extremely important when it comes to fish habitat. That being said, the depth of the different fishing holes or habitat holes were not very deep, which is concerning when it comes to predators. And then the other thing is just putting more oxygen in the water. So we've spent a lot of time and effort over the years working on developing and expanding the habitat, and just really looking forward to another phase this upcoming summer. Hopefully, this will kind of be the final touches. I'm hoping. Really looking forward to kind of getting across the finish line with that. Like I said, it's been nearly 7 years of different levels of work, from just starting to do grubbing to starting to install parking lot areas with gravel, putting in gravel roads. I mean, just for us to be able to get to the stream, for us to install the habitat. It first started with the grubbing of the trees. Then we didn't have a roadway to even get to the stream, so we could even like dump the rocks off. Because you really don't want to use timber, in my opinion, because it just does not last. It's not a long-term solution when it comes to fish habitat. Yeah, you can use it, but it rots and deteriorates, can wash away depending on a bad storm or whatnot. So like I said, we wanted to have an opportunity to use more of a rock material. So it took us roughly 3 years to clear and basically get ourselves parking areas, a gravel road installed, and then at that point We started, the permitting processes for the actual fish habitat, deciding what we wanted to go where, how it was going to lay out, and it's been every year we've been adding so many, and kind of going from there, a few structures at a time. This year, I think we're doing, don't quote me, but we're doing like a lot of touch-up work on 9 existing structures, and we have 3 new ones to go in from scratch. So that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Daniels Run is a fantastic fishery. Holds a lot of fish as we talk today. It's really made the overall, I would say, aquatic environment much better. The fish now have adequate depths to stay safe. They're not sitting there, 2 inches from the surface waiting to get pecked off by whether that's a bird or some type of predator coming by and getting them. So yeah, it's just a lot of positive stuff. I'm really looking forward to the finalized product. Anybody ever wants to see it, please reach out to me. I would love to show you our work and efforts and what we're doing to make it nice. It's been a lot of work. I can't say thank you enough to everybody been involved. It's been a tremendous outpouring of volunteerism over the years. The very first year we started, when we were just grubbing trees, I mean, it was literally done by hand. No equipment involved, no nothing. I mean, it was all strictly handwork. And I can't name everybody, but to say thank you, I sincerely, deep down, cannot say thank you enough. So to all those out there, whether it's been the Daniels Run Habitat Project, the Wild Acres Farm, or even, what we're doing. We're doing the same kind of philosophy or the same kind of game plan with 10 Mile. We're establishing our roadway along the streamway so we can actually, at some juncture, begin to do fish habitat there as well. That being said, I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on the legislative updates. I know that, I've kind of been giving everybody kind of updates here and there over the Game and Fisheries Committee with the House and also the Senate. There is a bundle package that includes Sunday hunting, Title 34 trespass, hunter access for, how would I say this? Additional hunter access opportunities for private properties to hunt, and also red tag reforms to make it easier for folks to get rid of carcasses and whatnot accordingly. That being said, that is being voted on by the House of Representatives, Pennsylvania House of Representatives Game and Fisheries Committee this week. That bundle of package bundle. Everything I'm hearing sounds overwhelmingly positive, which I think is amazing for not only this bundle of legislation, but also I think it's an amazing thing for the future. I think it sets a great groundwork of different groups and organizations collaborating together towards common goals and initiatives and positive progress. I know some people don't like to change, and I respect people's views and beliefs on life and different things that they don't want to change. But everything on this planet that does not adapt to its environment, ultimately doesn't survive. And the great outdoors, which includes hunting and fishing. We've seen over the years declines in hunters, trappers, etc. The youth trapping numbers are absolutely horrific. I just heard a statistic Monday, and it was atrocious. It was like less than 100. There are less than 100 youth trapping tags that were sold in the entire state of Pennsylvania. That to me is a screaming problem. Because there's so many systemic issues with that relating to, everything involved and from predators to increased predators to property management to habitat, the impacts on habitat, the impacts on game. The lack of trappers in Pennsylvania is a huge issue. Cannot stress this enough. it's a monstrous issue with impacts for crop damages, with impacts for property damages, with ecosystem, I would say, being the scales being tipped. So yeah, I think that, those are things that everybody needs to be conscientious of and aware. But I wanted to really highlight today, I kind of set the stage with some of the things we're doing with habitat improvements with waterways and ponds and streams and et cetera. In past shows, I've talked about the habitat work we've done on land when it comes to different crops, when it comes to different things for wildlife. I kind of want to circle back to that, but I want to come at it from the angle of the Pennsylvania Game Commission. On past shows, I've thrown out some statistics that approximately 85% of whitetail harvests come from private property as opposed to public land. That's an astronomically tipped scale when it comes to private versus public and where these animals are being harvested. That being said, why is that happening? Why is that taking place? What is the connect the dots between these particular subjects? All I can say to you is it's a it is basically Pandora's box, and we must open that box. When you dissect habitat, wildlife does not acknowledge, nor, in my opinion, truly care about property lines. They do not care about, for example, if we have a said game lands here and it's all natural with just wooded areas and we'll just say foraging places, but then surrounding said game lands is corn farms with cornfields with like tree edges and little streams running through it, hay fields, soybean fields. You get where I'm getting at. You have this diversity of habitat, this diversity of food. Deer love greens. Deer love to eat their salad, their natural salad, if I guess we can call it that. And the problem that I see, and I think that anybody that is really involved in this particular piece of the puzzle, our game lands have been basically allowed to be natural, which I respect, but they are meant to manage game. It's game lands. We have forests, we have parks, etc. On a personal note, I totally support those areas being natural if that's our goals and initiatives, etc. But game lands are to be managed for game. Game lands managed for game. I mean, it seems like the common sense that it's right in the basically the words are right there in the name, in the description. But that being said, I find it to be if you go and look at the different game lands, the quality of the habitat, and then you ask yourself, well, first of all, why are so many of these deer or even other wildlife not being harvested on these properties, but they're being harvested on the surrounding properties on the private land? Well, the answers are pretty simple. It's a basic answer. It's not really a mystery. It's food. People ask the questions like, well, why don't we see as many deer in the mountains in different, areas? Well, that too is simple. It all comes down to food. Wildlife and wildlife numbers are reflective of food sources. If you have abundance of food and water, I would also say places for them to hide, sleep, etc., cover, you're going to have an abundance of animals. If you have places where there isn't adequate food and not adequate nutrition for them to survive, thrive, and in a population to grow, you're going to see smaller populations. That being said, southwestern Pennsylvania, especially, with the diversity of rolling hills, different varieties of crops, the fence rows, the tree rows between different farms and properties, wetland areas, streams. There are so many things that are a positive when it comes to wildlife. That being said, that diversity of habitat that deer, turkey, and all other species do not see the property lines. They don't see the fact that, oh, that's Joe's cornfield, but, over here's the game lands. They don't care about that. They care about, where can I stay safe? Where can I get food? Where can I get something to drink? And the cycle of everyday life continues. Just because a piece of property is acknowledged as a game lands, if the habitat is not impacted in a positive regard to meet the same standards of modernized farming properties, and not only farming properties. For example, has anybody ever noticed your hostas being totally eaten by deer? Guess what? Deer love hosta. So deer are more than obliged to come right to your back door and eat your flowers because they taste good. Now, your backyard and your flowers are part of their environment. Whether we want to acknowledge that or not, that's simply and utterly the reality and fact of the world. We are part of the outdoors is their house. The outdoors is where they live, reproduce, so on and so forth. The ecosystem, just because we adjust the ecosystem with housing plans and park spaces and golf courses and different development areas, farming, so on and so forth, all of these different things are moldable amendments to the ecosystem. And different animals will make it adapt differently to those different ecosystems. For example, have you ever been to a golf course and seen huge amounts of geese? Why is this? Because that is terrific habitat for a Canadian goose. Canadian geese like to have open grass ranges, access to water. They like to be able to see prey coming from a distance so they can take off and fly away. That's what a Canadian goose loves. So golf courses are a fantastic place. They're almost like a wildlife sanctuary for Canadian geese. If you've never thought about it in this capacity, please do. Please think about it. Look at the different grass ranges where the Canadian geese go up in Canada, and where we're talking about here when it comes to golf courses, even in Pennsylvania. These are terrific spots for Canadian geese to migrate, come to, have their nests around these ponds, etc. But it's man-made, adapted habitat. These golf courses didn't exist before people did, but now these geese love the habitat. For example, there might have been let's just say a 100-acre woodlot. Well, now it's a 50-acre woodlot, but now there's all this housing development and there's all this landscaping around all these houses. Well, guess what? Hosta and all these flowers and all these different things did not exist whenever it was just a woodlot. Now it's a 50-acre woodlot, so the places for them to hide might not be as much, but now they have green grass, backyards to go eat at night. They have pond water reservoirs in these different housing developments, which now create additional habitat for them to go get access to drinking water. Additionally, now you have all, like I said, the flowers, the different things that they have access to for nutrition. So think about that. Like, what we are doing, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, it's utterly fact that animals adapt, but actually the things we're doing in many capacities are actually drawing wildlife closer and closer to us. That being said, it draws wildlife farther and farther from the game lands. So, like, you look at these different examples that I'm referring to in southwestern Pennsylvania. I could give you one that's a tremendous example. I do not know the number of it. I apologize, but Scenery Hill, Pennsylvania. There's a game land, different little parking spots, which are nice, but the fields where they release the pheasants, it's all jaggers. Like, it's a joke. Like, there's no food. There's no food for a pheasant to even eat anything. And somebody will say to me, well, Jason, they're meant to be put and take. And my question is, based upon the statistics that I've read in past shows where like over half of the birds aren't even being killed, my question is, why do we have this philosophy that, oh, it's put and take? The reason we have this philosophy is we're not managing the habitat. We're not managing the predators. We're not managing the ecosystem. So, yes, they're going to die whether they die of starvation, whether they get shot by a hunter, harvested by a hunter, whether they just die of starvation because they don't have adequate food sources for the abundance of birds that are being released, or if they just get ravaged by predators. Predators that our own game commission moves from airports and releases on these properties while there's all these pheasants there, which is completely, in my opinion, insane. I have no rational understanding why we would ever do this, but it's a common practice. That being said, it all comes down to habitat. I had a conversation the other day where somebody asked me within the game commission, and the conversation was, well, exactly what I just said. You have to understand, pheasants are put and take, and those are pen-raised birds. They'll never survive. Well, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but at the end of the past 2 years, at the end of the hunting season, we've released approximately 100 to 150 pheasants. I can assure you that I could take you to Wild Acres Farm today, and there are male and female pheasants roaming around, and the female pheasants have laid eggs and have reproduced and hatched chicks. Now, that being said, I don't know what the survivability rate of those chicks will be. That all comes down to, again, food, predation, major factors. We've done a tremendous amount of work when it comes to keeping the predators in check. But that in its own capacity is a huge problem, because even if one landowner addresses the predators at a property, you still have everything around you. You still have the rest of the state that is not being managed adequately. So that's its own concern. But back to the habitat on the game lands. The game lands are not being managed for game. They are being managed to be some natural order of things, sanctuary for birds and bees and whatever else. Do not get me wrong. These things are extremely important. But there are things that you could even do. For example, why would we not plant, for example, like wildflower fields? That can be done. That absolutely can be done. 1,000%. You could do literally full-ranging wildflower fields that could also serve as upland bird fields. These things to me seem like predominantly common sense, but for whatever reasons, they are totally being lost in translation. You could literally do a situation where you took wildflowers, oats, and sunflowers and mix that all together and plant a field. And that would help with deer would eat sunflowers in the summer. The sunflowers that survive would be tremendous for the migratory doves in the fall. And then also whenever, the upland birds are released, it's tremendous for them as well. That's not to say that there aren't a plethora of other wildlife that would also eat these different food sources. We're not providing those food sources, but we are providing those food sources on the private properties all around the game lands. And those are the folks that are making it very well known about the crop damages. And clearly it's a major concern. So I think that it's certainly something that we all need to discuss and acknowledge, that whether we want it to or not, our impact on this planet, the animals adapt, they adjust, they conform. Some of them even thrive better than before. Look at the geese. I mean, think about it. Pennsylvania, without golf courses, you're predominantly going to see them. Take away every man-made structure, water structure in the state of Pennsylvania. You're talking they're going to be landing on the major rivers, would have been the normal places they would have access to water outside of natural lakes, ponds, etc. When you look at it, we've amended habitat and they're thriving. When you look at deer populations, especially in southwestern Pennsylvania and other parts of the state, the way that we are farming, the variety of farms when it comes to, again, hay fields, soybeans, corn, millets, sunflower fields. I could go on and on and on and on and on. This variety, coupled with more access, better access, I would say, for water sources with human impacts. And I would also say just urbanization. These deer getting access to fruits, vegetables, so on and so forth in local communities, which were never available in the past. Hence why you look at the statistics of the mountain ranges areas or even the higher elevation areas where there aren't all of these food sources, the populations are less. There are huge impacts by what we're doing when it comes to our agricultural sector and how we're planting. But also, I reflect this to what we're not planting. I mean, it's common sense. Like, do you see, for example, at night, like before dark or whatever, are you seeing deer out in a Jagger field, or are you seeing them, going out and grazing, whether that's soybean field, alfalfa field, hay fields, etc.? I mean, the answers are simple. Not to say that they won't go and use that habitat for cover, bedding areas, etc. Yeah, I get that. That's a piece of the puzzle. Bedding areas are a piece of the puzzle. That's part of laying out a habitat plan for a piece of property, knowing that, yes, this is where I want the deer to bed. This is like my targeted goal. This is what I'm trying to achieve. 1,000% I understand. I agree. I think those are good opportunities. But if you're not planning that and you're putting bedding areas or creating bedding areas, like, for example, the example of the Scenery Hill game lands, basically creating these jaggery fields which do not provide food. There's so much activity in that particular area hunting, it's not going to provide any habitat cover for deer or even other game. It might be a temporary cover for a pheasant, but it doesn't provide any food, any sustenance. Also, hunters really do not want to take, from a hunter perspective, upland bird dogs are not beagles. Like, they're not going to go meandering through jagger thickets to try to flush pheasants. And furthermore, a pheasant, really, if it's a really thick jagger thicket, an upland bird really isn't going to be in that very much anyways, because the odds of them being able to get out to fly are not very good. So collectively, when we sit here and have this discussion about the game lands habitat, it is a huge thing to talk about because there are so many small things that can be done. I'll give you another good example. Trees. What tree plantings are we doing on game lands? Are we planting chestnut? Like, I understand there's like a natural order of things, but there's a lot of trees that could be planted that are reflective of Pennsylvania habitat. Crabapple trees. There's different native fruit trees that exist to Pennsylvania that could be planted on the game lands to provide better sustenance for the different animals to draw them. And these different trees produce at different times of the year, which is extremely important in the big scheme of things, because when you look at it from the capacity of, how things work, I guess we'll say, with, we'll just say annual management or day-to-day management, or however you want to look at it. I understand that maybe the Game Commission might not have the necessary budget to do everything, but even with what we've done at Wild Acres, it's not something you do in 1 year. You have to take bites out of the apple. Just say like $6,000 invested into seed plantings. That's not a huge number, especially for the amount of hunters and trappers and people that are upland bird hunting on a game land. That's not an astronomical number. You plant, say, 20 fruit trees every year and fence them in. Different varieties that produce at different times. Create like orchard spaces, different pockets here and there. Those are all viable opportunities. These are ideas that once you get it moving and growing, then you can potentially graft trees. And grafting trees is when basically you, how would I best describe it? Basically, you're cloning a tree. You're creating a cut on a limb, and basically you put a wrap around it, and it causes it to create roots. And basically, after about 2 to 6 months, you cut that area off. And if you do that like this time of the year, do that now, which I'm actually going to be pursuing this idea this year. But instead of paying for a $40 or $50 tree, or potentially $80 or $100 tree, you could clone a tree for basically pennies on the dollar. So, these are just little thoughts and ideas that could be implemented even at the game lands. Furthermore, local schools, you could have tree plantings with kids from different school districts. We could be having seed plantings with kids from different school districts. Universities using these, game lands also basically as like environmental labs, I guess I would say. Spaces for them to study, spaces for them to do analysis. I just see so much good that could come with better habitat management. And I understand that a cornfield, alfalfa fields, different things might not be the origin of Pennsylvania or what we claim to be the origin of Pennsylvania. But that being said, the wildlife doesn't care about the origin of Pennsylvania. Wildlife cares about food, water, cover, safety. Like, that's what they care about. And if we're not simply acknowledging that, we are totally dropping the ball when it comes to wildlife management, because we're not then managing the wildlife. We are basically being stubborn in our ways to do something just because that's what we said and that's what we want to do. But we are not acknowledging the repercussions of how it's impacting farmers, crop damages, how it's deer and other species, doesn't matter if it's deer or not, but other species are going to go to the places where the food is. That it is what it is. Everything on this planet needs food, water, shelter. Basic concepts of life. It's very simple. If the game lands are not managed in that capacity for 365-day-a-year opportunities for food, water, and shelter, it's going to fail. And the failures have been very well recorded with the blatant eye, just seeing the quality of the habitat. Anybody that really understands habitat will go and see these things comparably to even just a farm. Why are there all these geese at this farm? Why am I seeing all the deer in the field at this farm? Why am I seeing these turkeys strutting out in this plowed field? All these different factors, these are things that the wildlife embraces, that the wildlife is attracted to, that the wildlife thrives upon. Why are the deer populations so big in southwestern Pennsylvania? It's because of human interaction. It's not because of Penn's Woods. It's because of rolling hayfields. It's because of fruit orchards. It's because of mom and pop gardens in local community areas. There's so many factors that go into it of human interaction, which has boomed the deer populations and kind of like creating this perfect habitat for them on all these private properties, etc. That being said, we'll keep forging ahead with the conversation about the habitat. Really look forward to, us doing that and kind of seeing. I'm hoping that the Game Commission, that we're going to get to a point where the Game Commission will start doing more development on private property not private property, but on the game lands for the game. We do this on the elk range. They plant areas for the elk to graze because elk need grazing areas. It's no different than any other species. Different species need different things, and there's different demands associated with all the above. So just mental note on all these things. We're headed in a positive direction. First thing what comes with change is about the conversation, but we will certainly keep talking about it, raising awareness of these issues, and hopefully forging ahead in a very, very positive direction. That being said, I want to reiterate special thanks to the Mariana Outdoorsman Association. Currently have a 30% discount for the remainder of spring and summer. You can do that by registering at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. Trophy trout fishing, 6 different species. 1,000-yard rifle range, that is up and running. We have 2 different pistol ranges, clay pigeon range, and also we have a 3D archery. And then we have an abundance of dove hunting in the fall. We also have the upland birds from fall, winter, and into basically March is typically when we kind of run out with that. Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds, 724-579-0924. You can go to 10milesco.org if you'd like to book a whitetail hunt, a turkey hunt for spring of 2025. Deer hunts are still available for the fall of 2024, archery and rifle. And also you can still book any guided upland bird hunts, etc. Absolutely no fences. And as always, we have tremendous lodging available, Civil War era lodge farmhouse for anybody to come to and enjoy. Please come check us out. 10milesco.org, 724-579-0924. And as always, you can check us out on Facebook at Wild Acres Farm Fishery and Regulated Hunting Grounds. And last but not least, I would like to give a special thanks to Washington County Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Promotion Agency. Please visit Washington County, Pennsylvania. In regards to the habitat, these are things that I hope today was a good enlightening moment for everybody. I hope you really think about the wildlife that you see in your community, the wildlife that you see on farms, the wildlife that you're seeing in a public park, the wildlife that you're seeing at a golf course. All these different ideas, thoughts, etc. exist because of our impact on wildlife habitat. And we have to think that way when we look at a game lands, because game lands are there for game. They're there for people to go and harvest game. These are not state forests. These are not DCNR parks. These are not, local baseball fields for where the kids are playing. So when we think about managed game, we have to manage the habitat to what's actually going to draw the game, hold the game reproduction, so on and so forth. So I really, really, really hope everybody thinks about this, kind of thinks of how we can do a better job, thoughts, ideas, suggestions, etc. But as we progress forward, I hope you enjoy your upcoming holiday weekend with your friends, family. Enjoy the weather. The days it's raining, get a poncho, but enjoy it while you can. Dodge the raindrops. This is Jason White with the Great Outdoors. God bless and happy holiday.